Hi, Redeemer. Greetings from Atlanta, Georgia here. I'm down here at basically like a church planting conference with the North American Mission Board / Send Network, which is the church planting arm of the North American Mission Board. And that's who we partner with to plant churches in Iowa and beyond. Anyway, I'm down here learning, discussing, strategizing different things. And I just came out of a session where there was a question posed to the leadership about wokeness and CRT. And I generally trust where NAM is on this stuff, but I think that the response just lacked some clarity, and let's leave it at that. And so this is an issue I've been wanting to teach on, particularly critical race theories. It's obviously become prevalent in our culture. It's a point of discussion. There's plenty of other pastors out there who have talked on the issue, and I'm sure maybe you can lean into their resources. I know David Platt has some, Vodi Bakum has some. That being said, there's some things that I would nuance differently than them and would like the opportunity to teach on. Now, I'm not going to teach a sermon series on this. It's a little technical for my tastes for a Sunday morning. We'll probably do some podcasting, and that's probably going to be the way I'm going to approach it. But that being said, I figured I'd come out of the gates with a quick FAQ. And here's the Q. Donovan, do you accept or reject critical race theory? And the answer is I reject it. Now, some of the pushback I get sometimes on an answer that blunt is that, well, aren't there positive things in it? And the answer is yes. Because God's truth is everywhere, and there's truth to be found everywhere. And I would expect during a podcast series to draw some of that out. In fact, maybe to an extent that might make some of you uncomfortable. But it's kind of like asking me, do I reject or accept Islam? I reject it. Do you accept or reject Mormonism? I reject it. Do you accept or reject Republicanism? I reject it. Do you accept or reject, the Democratic Party, whatever you want to call that? I reject it. Progressivism, I reject it. I reject it. And so we can talk more about things that are positive and things that they see that we can learn from. But as a whole, I reject it. And I can tell you more later, but for its most fundamental reason is this. Critical race theory is rooted in ultimately postmodern philosophy, part of which, one of its major tenets, is that truth cannot be known, and that basically all claims to truth are power struggles. Since truth cannot be known, all we actually do is try to preserve ourselves. We're all limited by our bias. We're all limited by our experience. And I reject that. Ultimately, there is truth that we are limited by our bias in our experience. But as a Reformed Christian, I have what's called a Reformed epistemology. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. How is it that we know things? And postmodernism rejects basically that anything can truly and ultimately be known. Therefore, all that's left is power structures. And that's going to play itself out through many, many things, including critical race theory. And later on, I can trace out some more of that. But I reject that. I believe that my epistemology is that, yes, we are limited. We see dimly. We are limited by sin. We are limited by our humanity. We are limited by our finiteness. But God, because he's holy and good and gracious, has revealed himself. He has spoken. And so true things can be known, regardless of my upbringing, my race, my level of oppression or power. The good news is that God transcends the limits of human ability and can bring true knowledge of the Christ, human nature, and just wisdom in the world. And so there it is. In short, I reject it, and I look forward to teasing a lot more of this out with you through some podcasts. And as always, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about this and how to think through the complexities of it, because it is really complex. So love you guys. See you back in Iowa this weekend.